Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really provocative, urgent argument from an AI insider named Connor Leahy. We're going to impartially break down his case, which basically argues that technical AI alignment, the whole idea that we can just write some clever code to safely control a superintelligent AI, is an absolute pipe dream. Instead, he's making a serious push for an immediate global political intervention. So we're going to map out exactly how he landed on this conclusion and the pretty dramatic steps he believes are absolutely necessary to secure our future. To kick things off, let's look at this quote from Leahy. He actually jokes a bit about his Terminator-esque name, pointing out that his middle name makes him just one step removed from the fictional human resistance leader John Connor. And honestly, it sounds exactly like a movie pitch, right? But the stakes he's talking about aren't sci-fi, they are completely grounded in real-world economics and political theory. All right, let's jump into Section 1, A Hacker's Awakening, from open source to DC. So picture this. Back in 2011, Lee was completely steeped in the hacker culture. He really believed that open source tech was the ultimate safety net. The thinking was, hey, if you just make everything open and accessible, the hive mind of the community will naturally keep things safe. But then reality hit, and it hit hard. In 2019, GPT-2 dropped. For Lee, this sparked genuine panic, because he realized that advanced AI was arriving literally decades ahead of the 2040 or 2050 timeline he had in his head. That realization completely shattered his old worldview. And that defection brings us to his current reality as the executive director of Control AI, a DC-based nonprofit that is actively fighting for an international ban on superintelligence. Which brings us to Section 2, Impossible Alignment, Beyond Computer Science. Now, there's this pervasive, kind of naive belief in much of the tech industry that alignment is strictly a coding issue, something we can just solve by tweaking statistical distributions or fiddling with complex data filters called sparse autoencoders. But Leahy pushes back hard on this. He asserts that true alignment requires something infinitely heavier. He says it basically requires building a system that flawlessly solves life-or-death triage, global governance, human moral philosophy, economics, and physics perfectly, on the first try, without a single bug. I mean, think about it. Humanity hasn't even agreed on the basic foundations of morality, yet somehow we expect to just seamlessly code it into a machine. Trying to build an omnipotent, bug-free world government strictly through software is, as Leahy contends, pure science fiction. He literally calls it a Marvel Comics kind of thing. In his view, treating this existential threat like it's just some computer science project you can solve in a digital petri dish is a massive, dangerous distraction from reality. Okay, Section 3, The Public Goods Dilemma, A Race to the Bottom. To really grasp what's happening, imagine a river. Step 1, a chemical company dumps toxic sludge right into the water because, well, it makes their products cheaper to produce. Step 2, the nice, highly ethical competitor next door refuses to pollute. Because of that, their products cost more, and they inevitably go out of business. Step 3, eventually, the free market selects for the absolute most reckless, crazy polluter who is willing to externalize all of those risks onto the public. Leahy argues that the AI industry right now is trapped in this exact same race to the bottom. The big takeaway here is that you simply cannot solve a public goods problem using market forces or private charities. Just like a private philanthropy group can't physically stop a chemical plant from dumping toxic waste, private handshake agreements between tech CEOs cannot stop an AI arms race. They don't have any law enforcement capability to actually protect the public, meaning us. The only mechanism that can actually level the playing field and stop this reckless race is strict government-enforced regulation. Moving on to Section 4, Why Insiders Must Quit, the Corporate Terrarium. So, a natural question is, why do incredibly smart safety researchers stay at these labs if it's so dangerous? Well, first off, massive financial capture. We're talking huge salaries and stock options. Then you've got the ego, the high status, the tribalism of being in the room where it happens. But the most fascinating part is what Leahy calls the terrarium effect. Companies put these safety researchers into a kind of corporate terrarium. They're told they're making a huge difference, which completely insulates them from the harsh reality that they actually have zero power to stop the company's overall trajectory. Add to that a misplaced belief that they can somehow play vigilante and sabotage or slow things down from the inside, which Leahy points out is basically completely ineffective. The core message he delivers to these insiders is just undeniably blunt. If you are participating in a reckless race to build superintelligence, you are complicit, period. His advice? Stop making things worse. Drop and roll. He argues that the absolute only moral action for anyone working at these frontier AI labs today is immediate resignation. That takes us to Section 5, the global political fix, the path forward. So, what does it actually take to jumpstart this kind of political reality? $500 million. That staggering number is what Leahy estimates it costs to run an effective, medium to large political campaign in the U.S. To actually get members of Congress to wake up and understand this issue, you need a massive media apparatus repeating the message 7 to 10 times over the course of a year. It is an incredibly expensive, steep uphill battle, but he views it as a totally necessary maneuver to force this onto the legislative agenda. Because just think about the sheer absurdity of our current legal system for a second. If you want to sell a sandwich to the public, the government is all over you with high regulations and health inspections. If you try to build a bomb in your garage, completely illegal. You're getting arrested even if the bomb is a dud, because you put the public at risk. Yet, if you are building a super intelligent AI that could theoretically wipe out humanity, the regulation is basically zero. It's just treated as a private corporate race. Leahy argues the government urgently needs to step up and reclaim its mandate to protect the public from unacceptable existential risks. So, what would it look like if the government actually adopted this viewpoint? If granted executive power, his immediate action plan would involve going on national TV to declare superintelligence a grave national security threat. Boom. Then immediately directing the NSA, the CIA, and the military to draft containment doctrines. He points out that we already know how to regulate dangerous technology through highly secure, heavily monitored private companies. Just look at Lockheed Martin and the defense industry. And crucially, all of this must culminate in a global, trust and verified treaty with international rivals like China to ensure nobody builds it. To wrap up this explainer, we are left with a really massive overarching question based on Leahy's arguments. Now that the illusion of a simple, technical, software fix has been thoroughly challenged, what's our next move? Will society and our governments actually rally the immense political will and capital required to implement these massive global containment solutions? Or are we just going to let the free market's reckless race to the bottom decide the future of humanity for us? It's a heavy question, for sure, and definitely one that leaves us with a lot to consider.